Hello! Today, I may present to you something that I have never ever done before, and it is a review. Why? Because I've been using this sketchbook for a while now, and I just like it, and I feel like it's underrated. Not a whole lot of people know about it, and I think it's fairly cheap. I don't remember. It was pretty affordable for me to get, and it's not done yet. It's only a little bit missing, so watch out for a sketchbook tour, I guess. Anyways, as I said, I just happen to like the sketchbook. I got it for a Christmas or my birthday, I don't remember, from my parents. I'll just pop up some timestamps now, and one disclaimer, I don't know if that even needs to be addressed, but I tested pretty much every medium I have, besides oil paints, because I want to be able to close my sketchbook and not have to wait for like half a month, up to a month, until I'm able to use the rest of my sketchbook, until the paint's dry. But besides that, I pretty much used every medium. Some are combined, and because I don't even remember how many drawings I did. You'll see them all, well, if you watch all the timestamps, which I would appreciate because it took a long time to do all of them. They are not all perfect, which, I mean, drawings are never perfect, but by the amount of them, there's quite some stuff that I probably wouldn't have happened if I took a little more time, but I don't have the time, but I still wanted to make this video, so yeah. Also, another thing, I feel like the paper is very similar to Royal Talens sketchbooks. Like, they're very similar sketchbooks. They also come in like tiny little squares. They don't have loops though, and they react a little bit differently to alcohol markers, but besides that, the paper is pretty similar. Also, just, you know, I like my sketchbooks thick, and for the fact that it is so thick, it's holding up pretty well. Like, I mean, look at it. There's no rippage going on. So yeah. Oh yeah. This is some information about the sketchbook, if you want that. Welcome. It's voiceover Shay. You see me coloring in a pen sketch right now, and I have a few notes on watercolors. They can be a little blotchy, and they don't lift very easily, so you have to work with a lot of wet on wet technique. Also, after some layering, they tend to roughen up the texture a bit, but I never managed to have it bleed through or actually rip the paper, which pretty much is enough for me when it comes to a sketchbook and doodling around, because I don't do very thorough illustrations with watercolor. Well, some people might call them that, but I don't have many layers. Next up is a marker drawing. I already did the line art because I haven't worked with markers in a while, and I at least wanted something to turn out right, so I didn't have a plan how the markers would turn out. First of all, I haven't ever tested them on this paper, and second of all, I haven't used them in a while because they give me headaches. So yeah, I got a headache just for you. The markers actually performed pretty well. I had them perform worse on other paper. They didn't feather, so it was not that hard to stay within the lines as on other paper. You will see later on that it bled through pretty heavily. Because the paper is relatively smooth, they blended pretty well, and they didn't turn out too streaky, which I don't know, if you use markers, you probably know that some paper will just make it extra hard for you not to have everything be streaky, and this didn't happen with this paper. You see me now filling up the circle thing with the black marker, and to be honest, I'll go over it with ink later. Now you see me grab the wrong ink at first. Now it's the right one, because I wanted to have this nice effect. And because the ink was so much blacker than the marker, the circle turned out a little pale, so I just went over that with ink as well. And to my surprise, ink didn't bleed through, but the marker did. Now I'm covering it up with acrylics, and while that is drying, I'll use gel pen. And to be honest, gel pen performs well on most paper, and the paper is thick enough so it doesn't bleed through. With ink test, I purposely filled up larger spaces so you could see the if it goes or not. To be completely transparent, I did not paint the full thing with acrylics because I don't like the acrylics that I have, because they're very cheap acrylics. Don't have any coverage at all. I am also drawing with crayons. I don't know, maybe someone likes crayons. I thought I include them in the media test. Now, with any sketchbook that I used before, because of the binding of the books, oh hi, my hair, crayons tend to smudge. Same with color pencils. No, not color pencils, pencils. So I recommend either using a fixative or a piece of paper, but that's pretty much with any sketchbook. Besides, you don't mind. Here the acrylic leaked underneath, but that's more on my fault rather than the sketchbooks. But yeah. These brush pens, I drew with them before in here, and they really tend to bleed through and goes through and feather. They didn't feather on this page, but I'll insert another picture of when it bled through. Yeah, I actually really like using these fine liners, I'm stupid, brush pens, but they don't do well on this paper in terms of bleed through. That's why I expected the ink to bleed through as well. On to color pencils. The paper is fairly smooth, so there's not too much texture for the pencils to adhere to, but I feel like it's just enough that it works well. I'll insert more color pencil drawings. Well, one. I only did one more, I think. Because the paper is smooth, though, it blends nicely. I don't know if it really is because the paper is smooth or something else, but that's what I'm guessing it is. Yeah. By the way, if you wondered, this is my OC Eris, and the one with the horns is my OC Nair. Then there is also another OC, a lady called Cecil, if you wonder who I'm drawing over and over again. So on to gouache. I actually hadn't tested gouache before this point in the sketchbook, and I only did black and white because after all this drawing I couldn't be bothered to mix colors. It applied nice and smooth, and I feel like with gouache it's mainly a preference thing if the paper is textured or not. Some people like cold pressed better, some people like hot pressed better, a lot of texture, not a lot of texture. And I expected the gouache to do well, which it did, because I feel like as soon as paper handles watercolor, it definitely handles gouache too. Oftentimes it handles gouache even better, especially if you use it a little bit more opaque and thicker with less water in it, because that's the water with the watercolor is actually what kind of tortures the paper. And you can use gouache with less water than watercolors. So yeah, of course, same as with the watercolor and the other paint that is water-based like acrylics, it warps. You'd need very thick paper for the paper not to warp at all. And to be honest, for it not being that thick of a paper, it doesn't even warp too bad. Like, I had paper completely crinkle up on me before. So yeah. Onto pencil, it erases well, it smudges when it's closed, pretty normal stuff for sketchbooks. For pens behave like pretty much any paper. They layer pretty well. Markers, they don't tear up the paper, interestingly, and they lay down pretty normal and somewhat flat, so it works well. Yeah, I use them a lot in combination. So as a ending thing, I thought I should flip through all of the drawings again. Wait, let me try something with the lighting. Does that help? I think it does a little. Anyways, so here we have the first one for watercolors. Then we have markers here. And so as I said, markers in the foreground and ink in the background. Here we have the acrylics that I ended up doodling with ink over later on. Here we have some gel pen and the crayon. I put this paper here because crayon tends to smudge a lot and I didn't want it to go everywhere. Here we have the color pencil drawing, the brush pen stuff. I covered up the bleed through with the paper that I still need to draw on. Let's take this away. Here we have pencil and the gouache. I don't know, I thought it would be a good idea to show you a little bit more close-ups like I do now to really actually see the media. So yeah, and here's, I don't know if you even can read that, but it's basically my notes on what I wanted to say in the voiceover. So yeah, maybe that's of interest to anyone. So yeah, bye. Hopefully seeing you again in on Monday, 2 weeks. Probably 2 weeks. Yeah, as mentioned before, don't forget to subscribe and become part of the thing. Anyways, bye!